Hi, I'm Melissa, your free range psychic, and today I am going to do a tarot reading on the potential of Russian interference in our 2020 elections, which, spoiler alert, is well underway. I don't think that's an opinion, that's a fact. I'm going to use the Ciro Marchetti Gilded Tarot for the reading, and then the guides have an oracle card for us at the end. So when I do these readings, I don't shuffle the deck and pick the cards out. I ask my spirit guides to show me the cards psychically, and then I ask them why they chose those cards. So yeah, it's pretty scary right now to watch the media and watch these caucuses, and I have to turn it off. I was watching Troy Reed early today, but I thought, no, this is too much. It's my amygdala, the part of our emotional center that processes strong emotion like fear, just like couldn't handle it. And I realized that it's not helpful. That is not. I love Troy Reed. I'm not blaming the media right now, although yeah, they could tone it down a little. To them, this is kind of like their Super Bowl. A little is an understatement. But I think that this is part of this ginning up of fear. I know it's part of Russia coming in with the GOP deplorables and their trolls and whatever, and ginning up our fear, getting us frightened, getting us into this fight or flight mode. And that is something that they're good at. And at the same time, there's it's a coronavirus, which is a serious virus, but I was doing some fact checking on it, and there's a lot of widespread misinformation. And I don't know if anybody remembers, other viruses at times, these kinds of times that we're supposed to be focused on one thing, all of a sudden we're terrified of another virus, swine flu, SARS, the Ebola virus, all which were terrible, but and Ebola especially. But there is a tendency to exploit those kind of fears, so that we don't know what to focus on. We lose our focus, really, and our concentration on what we want, and we settle in this reactive mode, which we can't do right now. We really have to stay centered, and we have to stay active. We have to stay discerning. So I'll get into the tarot reading. I used a simple Celtic cross with some clarifying cards. The subject card that my guides gave me, the Lovers. The Lovers, this is Putin and Trump. This is Russian interference in our elections, their desire to get Trump reelected. Above is the Eight of Pentacles. This means they're hard at work. Spinning in misinformation, gaslighting, exploiting our fears and our uncertainty. They know how to do it. They're good at it. And that's how their attitude. Let's get to work. We're going to do this thing. It's just all business to them. In the past, this is the Five of Swords. This is the 2016 election. This is Russia getting Trump elected. It wasn't a real election. There was a lot of interference there that got him, including, I believe, stealing votes and, of course, voter suppression, which is even on the increase now. But Russia was victorious in getting their man in. Underneath the devil, this is Putin. This is dark entity energy. This is his energy. And the GOP and Trump and everybody related to Trump, McConnell, Graham, Bannon, all those guys. They're on fire. They're on fire right now. in the future, in the near future, my guides gave me this sun card. I said, what does this mean? And they said, this in the very near future, there's going to be major expose, probably by the, newspapers like the Washington Post and Miami Herald, and there's different reporters, and they're New York Times. They're going to be exposing a lot of the what's going on with Russian interference. And I'm not saying it's just cyber interference abroad. This is on our soil. These are people on our soil who are interfering really pretty directly in, like right now, probably the Democratic caucuses, and they're seeding their interference for the election on going up until. But this is major exposure, and so my guides were saying this can only really work in the dark. They want to be behind the scenes doing this stuff, but if there's major sunlight that is cast on what they're doing, then they're not going to be at least as successful as they want to be. Because they rely on our ignorance, they rely on the darkness, and so they want to melt it into it. And if they're exposed, then they're going to run. Like when you lift up a rock and there's the creepy crawlers down underneath it, they want to run from the sunlight, and this is the effect of that. The clarifying card, they gave me the Four of Swords. What did the Four of Swords mean? My guide said this means that this exposure of their interference that's going on is going to disable them to some extent, and it actually does major damage because this guy only has one sword remaining here. So they're going to take a major hit because of this exposure of their tactics, because they are again relying on the dark, and the sun comes in and disables them. I asked for a clarifying card. I got the Three of Wands, and this is Trump really needing, the only way he can really win, really needing Russian interference, and still welcoming it in, although now this has happened, and so he's in this kind of mode of, this is where he is. He's relying on something now that is somewhat broken, but it is his only way of victory. Of course, there's other dark entities like the Koch brothers and whatever Cambridge Analytica turned into. They're all kind of behind it too, Bannon. But the biggest or the main controller of it all, or the main the major source is going to be Russia. Yeah, I know people are wondering about China and North Korea. Well, they have a part, but really Russia is the one that has the most in place, the biggest apparatus, the biggest investment. Outcome, 10 of Wands. So I always think of this right now as the GOP carried on Russia's back, because this guy looks like a serf, a Russian serf. So with this exposure of truth that comes, of sunlight, the man behind the curtain, this entity of the GOP being supported by the Russians and by foreign money and dark money, this is now apparent. The curtain gets ripped down and we see the truth of this. Not that a lot of us don't already know it, but it comes into even more visibility. And the dare of the American people looking on at the truth, the naked truth, I should say, of the relationship of the GOP and Trump with Russia and foreign entities. And the clarifying card for that was the Page of Pentacles. And I asked what this meant, and my guide said that it has to do with whistleblowers. I imagine Julian Assange would be one, but others that are going to come within who used to be the rank and file for Trump, and they're going to come out, and they're going to provide information that is really mind-blowing in terms of what's been going on. And I also believe this means the start of another investigation of many, one of many, or many of many. I don't think it's just going to be one investigation. I think lots of different, like little fires are going to maybe turn into one major conflagration, but there are separate fires that are going to manifest as investigations in the House. And people are coming forward with this proof. So that is my reading so far on Russian interference. So hopefully this will come to pass. And I don't know if everybody watched the beginning, and I ask people if it freaks you out too much, my dramatic openers, to please skip ahead and just watch this part, or you can skip past this, especially if you just want to calm down. There'll be another musical interlude at the end, but I left some at the very end of that sequence pictures. There are lists of websites that you can go to fact check, and please, right now, as becomes apparent in that little sequence of pictures, the Russians, how do they get to us? Through the media, through Facebook, through Twitter, through YouTube. So this is the time when something, potentially explosive, comes before you. Fact check it several times. Make sure it's true before you react. My guides really want us to be less reactive and more discerning, more empowered to find our own truth. And there are ways. And so there when I was researching the different websites to go to, that is not an exhaustive list that I listed. There are more, and I'd love to know more. If any of you want to, tell me, go to so and so place, that's a great fact checking site. I'll include it in the description. I'm gonna in the description below. I'm going to put the links of the websites that I found those fact checking sites on, and I think the more information we get, the more we are independent researchers ourselves, are truth seekers, the better, the stronger we are. And it also calms our fear down. I know that's been an ongoing issue in this Trump presidency, but it's being even more exploited now because we're, on this race to the elections of 2020. My guides did choose a card for us, and this is very copacetic, and it's from the Messenger Oracle deck by Ravynne Phelan. And this card is See the Truth. So this is just going to emphasize everything I just said. Do not be deceived. Be watchful and mindful. Be watchful and mindful of the illusions others weave around themselves, and you may weave around you. Know the night. Understand the shadows. See through the darkness to the light of truth. Pay attention to contradictions. Notice when actions and words are not in harmony. Hone your intuition and insight so that you may know the minds and the hearts of those around you and yourself, and trust in the wisdom born of that awareness. So that's important. We need to be truth seekers to know what is truth before we can make our minds up. And that makes us more grounded, more powerful, more empowered, and more likely to be able to bring about the result we want and not be pushed by the influence of those who want to exploit our uncertainty and fear and insecurity to their ends. best thing we can do is to seek the truth and to gain knowledge to the best of our ability, and trust our inner intuition, trust our gut. So that is my reading, and I want to remind everybody I do personal readings. Please contact me for availability. My information is below, and I left a card or a little title card, it's called, with my information at the end of the musical interlude. I do past life readings. I'm a medium. I do anything in the present life, past, present, future in this lifetime, and I love to introduce people to my guardian to your guardian angels. My guardian angels too, they're really lovely. Well, our guardian angels generally tend to be very lovely. Please have a calm and peaceful time of this as much as you can. It's February the 23rd, 2020, and remember, everybody, we're in Mercury retrograde, so there's apt to be a lot of confusion. Whatever confusion there is, it's going to be increased at times. This is when we forget to mail something, or we lose our keys, or our car breaks down. Good old Mercury retrograde stuff, but it is also a time to detach in some way from the mundane and material world, and enjoy being a spirit on this earthly plane, to recognize that we are spirits on this earthly plane. And not everything is always tied to our cars, or our social media, or our watches, or that kind of thing. We get to break free of that during these kinds of times, and just enjoy ourselves socially and emotionally, and get creative. Mercury retrogrades are great times to get creative. Not good for detail in terms of adding things. This is the time when you write a check but you forget to put in the amount, or put your name on it, or put your signature on it. Nevertheless, you guys take care. I love you. Again, welcome all my new viewers. And a shout out to everybody else. I love all of you. Please keep the community and the conversation going. I will get back with you. I do read all the comments, and I love our growing community. So you guys take care. There is a musical interlude coming up. I hope you enjoy it.